We are back with our on-the-record special, Terror in America, ISIS in Election 2016. And what do Donald Trump and Secretary Hillary Clinton say they will do to wipe out these terrorists? Here's Donald Trump's strategy.
Containing the spread of radical Islam must be a major foreign policy goal of the United States and indeed the world. Events may require the use of military force, but it's also a philosophical struggle, like our long struggle in the Cold War. In this, we're going to be working very closely with our allies in the Muslim world. We should work together with any nation in the region that is threatened by the rise of radical Islam. But this has to be a two-way street. They must also be good to us. We must stop importing extremism through senseless immigration policies. We have no idea where these people are coming from. There's no documentation. There's no paperwork. There's nothing. We have to be smart. We have to be vigilant. A pause for reassessment will help us to prevent the next San Bernardino or, frankly, much worse.
And here's Secretary Hillary Clinton's strategy.
I've laid out my plans for defeating ISIS. We need to take out their strongholds in Iraq and Syria by intensifying the air campaign and stepping up our support for Arab and Kurdish forces on the ground. We need to keep pursuing diplomacy to end Syria's civil war and close Iraq's sectarian divide, because those conflicts are keeping ISIS alive. We need to lash up with our allies and ensure our intelligence services are working hand in hand to dismantle the global network that supplies money, arms, propaganda, and fighters to the terrorists. And we need to win the battle in cyberspace. And of course, we need to strengthen our defenses here at home. Now that, in a nutshell, is my plan for defeating ISIS.
Would either of these plans be effective? Arizona Congresswoman and the first female combat pilot, Congresswoman Martha McSally, goes on the record. Good evening, Congresswoman.
How are you doing, Greta?
Very well. So, two questions. First one is, can we destroy ISIS? You're ex-military, so that's why I posed the question to you. And secondly, we have all this sort of big talk by everybody, by politicians, and I don't blame them because it's sort of hard to lay out a strategy, nuts and bolts.
Right.
How do we do it?
Yeah, absolutely we can defeat him, Greta. It's going to take the resolve and the leadership and an approach that goes after them militarily, has us leading in the world again. It has to be a departure from Obama's failed policies. Let's be clear. Obama finally delivered his strategy on ISIS to Congress late, and recently he delivered his reasons why he was going to veto this year's defense bill, which was twice as long as his flimsy approach against ISIS. So we have to turn around the military crisis we have right now in our readiness and support our military. We've got to go after them where they are in Iraq and Syria, Libya, Sinai, and other places. We need to unleash American air power, stop tying the hands of our military, cut their heads off figuratively, their leadership, their command and control, their resources, in order to stop their momentum. It's been 2 years since the caliphate was delivered, and there's been these incremental, gradual approaches to this that are not working. Secondly, we've got to lead and show resolve that we have not showed in the region. We've had a incoherent and contradictory policy in the region. Thirdly, we've got to address the flow of foreign fighters. I had a hearing this week in my subcommittee on border and maritime security. We've got almost 500,000 people that have come into America and overstayed their visas, just as an example. We've got to be able to quickly identify those that are going to be a threat, make sure those foreign fighters are not flying here, those that are overstaying, those that are coming over our border, we're addressing those and those vulnerabilities. And then finally, we've got to combat the ideology and the homegrown extremism. We've got 1,000 investigations in all 50 states right now of Americans that are being radicalized. And so we've got to have a whole-of-society approach in order to address that radicalization.
I guess I found it so disturbing when I heard CIA Director John Brennan the other day, is that 2.5 years ago is when President Obama, and I hate to keep hitting him with this, referred to ISIS as JV. And in that 2.5 years, it hasn't gotten better. They've grown.
No.
It hasn't stayed the same. They've grown. And so it's, I mean, how can you not know that the strategy has failed when we are so much worse off than we were 2.5 years ago? I mean, what does it take to realize that whatever we're doing just isn't working? So that's why I asked him, could we really do this?
Absolutely, it's not working. But again, we haven't had the leadership and the resolve. Our military has had their hands tied since the very beginning. We have, words of horrible situations with civilians in Fallujah, but we allowed them to take Fallujah and not take them on when they were on the march towards Fallujah. Now they have tunnels and booby traps, civilian hostages. It makes it much more complicated. If we had addressed them and taken them seriously instead of pulling out of Iraq, not allowing a failed state in a safe haven, then we would have stopped their momentum. And the momentum actually is recruiting more foreign fighters and radicalizing individuals at home. People want to join a winning team. This administration has absolutely failed to address this and provide the leadership, the resolve, the military capabilities, the rules of engagement, things that need to close our vulnerabilities with the visa waiver program. There's lots of things that could be done, but it takes that kind of leadership that we don't have right now.
Congresswoman, thank you very much. And, of course, also thank you for your service, first female combat pilot. Thank you.